Let's get into our text this morning. ต่อไปตัวว่า主ให้耶稣给到不只给路给单咗还给听就告 Amen. So have you ever wondered how things are just going as things just happen the way they do? Sometimes around us. And what I mean by this is that there's this, we always wonder about this word called coincidence. And it is like you are sometimes in the right place, right time, and who put this person in your path that you and this person, for some reason, you guys meet. And when you think about it, it's like someone is orchestrating all of this behind the scene. For example, let's say you've been working on something, a project, one of your things, and because you're not someone who just sits there and do nothing. You actually take initiative. You actually want to do something. That's just who you are. And for the young people here, that's what adults do. We get off the couch. We actually go and try and do something, make things to happen. But for you, for this one thing that you're doing, whatever it is, and it could be a project that you're working on your own. Maybe you want to start your own business. Or it could be something you're working for the family, the relatives, and you're just trying to get through it. But whatever it is, for some reason, things just happen. Yeah. Sometimes we don't understand why things just happen. The right person comes along, you bump into them at the store, or maybe you're at the mall. We like to go to Mall America. Maybe you're at the mall, and all of a sudden you see this sign that says there's a for sale going on, and you walk in, it's the very thing you're looking for, and there's a sale going on for that thing. Yeah, things just happen. Right place, right time, right person. Last week we were talking about Jonah, the book of Jonah, and we looked at that, and we looked at how God saved Jonah, and send him to tell others about God. Save to be sent. So today we're going to look at another character in the Bible, Ruth. And this is a popular book in the Bible for small group Bible studies. But today we're going to look at Ruth with the lens of our church theme this year. Jesus says go. So let's read our text together. But before that, our praise and worship team read the key verse and the popular verse that everybody knows. Where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. That's the popular verse everybody knows. But let's read our text together. You can read it in English behind me. I'll read it in Hmong. It's Ruth 2:10-12. Lũ chú chào tô nhỏ ô dê một tình gạo hú áng ha hà chua bà hà tạ vì lý cha có yếu mỏ chua cú ô lô vì lý cha có yếu ô sát lơ chua cú chua từ tô nên sở tế chờ tàng bằng lê bà tê hà tạ cú tao nó chua ya cứ có tao ô dòng chua con nạ bù chỉ thầu có tụ có giờ tua lù lợ cú bao hà tạ có tao cho con nạ có chỉ ha có lú tế chờ chê ha lùn dù cho tôi nên cứ có ít chữ chỉ tao bao lô lệ nhỏ thọ của tôi chữ bao gian gì cho tế cứ có tao ở rong tàng lù lợ thọ của có tao dài có món blo mà luôn đã tôi chữ cứ do cho Israel tôi van chữ cứ do có lù vàng khọ đó là do vàng chữ lù. Yeah, this is our text for this morning. Kindness for others. The book of Ruth is about three people, and their tremendous kindness for others. Ruth, the daughter-in-law, Naomi, the mother-in-law, and Boaz, the relative. So let me just kind of give a little bit of background on this story so that we're on the same page. So during this time, it's during the time of the book of Judges. So during that time, people of Israel were falling away from God. People kind of did whatever they thought was right in their mind, kind of like today. We talked about it here, my truths. And so the book of Ruth is about some people during this tough time of faith that still had some faith in God. Yeah, there were a few who kept their faith in God during this time. So the story begins. There's a famine in Bethlehem, and Naomi, her husband, and two sons, they left Bethlehem to go to this country called Moab. And they raised their two sons there, and the two sons married Moab women. Something you should know about Israelites and Moab, there's some history between them. The two nations don't really get along. When the Israelites left Egypt, Moabites wouldn't let them go through their land. And so Moses makes his law, says no Moabite can go and worship in the temple of the Israelites. Yeah, there's some history between these two nations. And so that's the background. But then to make this story short, Ruth's husband dies, and her two sons dies. So now you're left with just three women who are widowed. Yeah, things weren't going so well for Naomi. Naomi's husband died, sorry. Things were going so well for Naomi. So one day, Naomi hears that back home, Bethlehem, the famine is over. And now she decides to go back home. And so as she was leaving, she tells her two daughter-in-laws, Ruth and the other daughter-in-law, that I don't have anything for you guys. You guys go back home to your family. And this is when Ruth says that famous verse, where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God would be my God. So the other daughter-in-law goes back to the family, and Ruth and Naomi makes way back to Naomi's hometown, Bethlehem. And they're going, and they get there, and as they come into the town, the townspeople, or the women, it says, is this really Naomi? After all this time. And Naomi goes, wait, don't call me that. God has been very bitter to me. I left full, and now I'm returning empty. Nothing. So back in Bethlehem, one day, Ruth goes and she decides to go and gather wheat. And there was this one field that she just randomly picked to go and gather wheat. And during the Bible days, there's this, Moses has this law that says, when any wheat that gets dropped in the harvest field, widows can go and pick that up. And that's kind of how they care for the widows during the Bible days. So Ruth was walking after the harvesters, and as they dropped the wheat, Ruth would pick up the wheat. That's what she was doing. And as she was following these harvesters, the owner of the field sees Ruth doing that. So he goes over and introduces himself. That guy's name is Boaz. And he introduces himself to Ruth. And he tells her that I've heard what you have done to my relative's wife, how you care for her. And Boaz tells her to continue to do what she's doing. And he goes over to his workers, right? And he tells his workers, you got to be nice to this Ruth, and also make sure you drop some wheat, but good wheat too, for her. Naomi hears about this from Ruth. Ruth goes home and tells Naomi that there's this guy who was good to her, this Boaz guy. And Naomi says, wait, Ruth, Boaz is a good guy. You should go back and talk to Boaz and ask him to be your redeemer. So Boaz agrees to be her redeemer. He goes and talks to the town elders and tells them that, I'm not first in line, I'm second in line. If my relative who's first in line doesn't redeem Ruth, I will. And so that first in line relative doesn't redeem Ruth, and Boaz redeems Ruth. He buys the land of Ruth's late husband. He marries Ruth. They have a baby. And that baby, that child, is the grandfather of King David. So that's the story of Ruth in a nutshell. Just 4 chapters, kind of like John, very short, 4 chapters, but quite a lot there to unpack. And so let's spend the next few minutes here just unpacking a few things. Like I said, this story is about 3 people, Ruth, Naomi, and Boaz, and how these 3 showed this tremendous kindness for the other. Ruth showing kindness for Naomi, Naomi taking Ruth back to her hometown, and Boaz showing kindness to Ruth, kindness for others. And it was during a time of famine. It was also during a time where people's faith in God was very low. They did whatever their mind felt was right. They were drifting away from God, people everywhere. Naomi was an Israelite. And so, a little bit of background on that. In the Bible, the Israelites were God's chosen people. And today, you and me, all of us, those watching online, Christians, we are God's chosen people. And so you can say that Naomi was a Christian in some sense. And Ruth was not a Christian. She believed in something else. And something about Naomi we should highlight here. You heard it. Life wasn't going so well for her. She left her hometown with a husband with some money and 2 sons, and she came back as a widow and with 1 daughter-in-law who was also a widow. Life was not going so well for her. Remember what she said when she met the townspeople, the townswomen? She said, "Don't call me that. Call me Mara." That's what she said. "Call me Mara." Let me read Ruth 2:20 for us. "Don't call me Naomi," she responded. "Instead, call me Mara. For the Almighty has made life very bitter for me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me home empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has caused me to suffer and the Almighty has sent such tragedy upon me?" So Naomi had this bitterness towards God, her God. But then she was still faithful. How? Because when Ruth came back and told her about how this person, Boaz, was so nice to her, Naomi said, "May the Lord bless him." All this time. Even when life wasn't going so well for Naomi, her faith was still there. She still relied on God somehow. But imagine what was going on in Ruth's mind, a foreigner, about Naomi and Naomi's God. What was going on in Ruth's mind? Your bitterness toward your God, but then you're also praising your God. How about her relative? The one that was the Redeemer, Boaz. Yeah, he wasn't bitter toward God because life was going well for him. He had land, he had workers, he was influential in the towns with the townspeople. Yeah, life was going pretty good for Boaz. But then he was also faithful because each time he greets his workers, he said, "May the Lord be with you." We can say he was a faithful and wealthy guy. He treated his workers with love and kindness, and then he treated this widow with this tremendous kindness for others. Imagine all that is going on in Ruth's mind. She left her homeland to come back with her mother-in-law, Naomi. She was a foreigner. She was an outsider to this place, and she didn't know what was going on there. She knows nothing about their God. All she had when she left was the commitment she made to Naomi. Where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. That was her commitment to Naomi. But my point is this, is that both Naomi and Boaz, they were a witness of their God to Ruth. How so? Ruth was a foreigner. She was a non-Christian. Their kindness for others, their love for Ruth, showed how they felt loved and how faithful they felt that their God was for them. And so in Ruth's mind, when she said, your God would be my God, actually means something now for her. It's starting to mean something. Being back at home in Bethlehem. So Ruth and Naomi could do what most of us would do when we go through what they have gone through, is just sit there and do nothing, but be sad about our life, sit on the couch and just cry and cry and cry, but think and say to ourselves, life is not treating me and you well. Life is not what we expected, is not what we wanted. No, Ruth didn't do that. She showed good character. She took initiative. She went out, and she said, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of my mother-in-law, Naomi. I'm not going to wait for things to happen. And so she goes to that one field, and she decides to go and pick up wheat after these harvesters. But imagine that. Ruth, a Moabite, foreign to this country, just learning about the culture, picking up wheat on someone else's land. And I get it that was the culture at the time, and that's what she was doing. But it just so happens that she was picking up wheat from the land that is owned by Boaz, the guy who eventually buys her land, the guy who eventually takes care of her, the guy who eventually marries her. Things just happen. Right place, right time, right person. Imagine that. Being a Moabite woman back at her homeland and marrying an Israelite for the first time, and she made a decision that a long time ago, probably not thinking where she would be in life today. Could she have imagined all of that? No. Being a widow, moving away from her homeland, remarrying again, and believing in a God that she doesn't know. And now she's married. She owns lands. She has a baby. Things just happen. And it's like someone is orchestrating all of this. Yeah. Someone is orchestrating all of this. It is God's grace to Ruth. Things just happen around her all the time. Right place, right time, right person. And sometimes God do things in our lives, your life, my life, for His purpose. It is His grace for you and me. In our story here, He brings two people into Ruth's life who showed tremendous kindness for others. Two very different people. One person where life wasn't going so well and she was still faithful. The other person where life was going very well and he was faithful. And these two people and their relationship with Ruth was God's grace to her and His kindness for Ruth. So in our life, your life, my life, think about all the people around us. The relationships we have, the relationships you have, the kindness for others that other people showed you. Yeah, this is God's grace to you and me. God's kindness for you and me. Sometimes we wonder why things just happen. Sometimes we wonder why and how we are right here at the right place, right time. Sometimes we wonder why it is a coincidence I met this person, the right person. This is God's grace for you and me. God's kindness for you and me. God is constantly working in our lives and using people for his purpose. God has a purpose for you and me, just like he does. And he did for Ruth. Ruth was the great-grandmother of King David. And from the lineage of David, our Redeemer is born. Even though life is not going so well, and even though life is going well for you, God wants to use you and me like he did Naomi and Boaz. Naomi, the one life was not going so well, who still believed in God. And Boaz, whose life was going well and believed in God. God wants to use you and me, all of us here, those watching online, to be a witness to others. He wants to show his kindness through us unto others. Your friends, my friends, your relatives, my relatives, your family, my family. The same kindness for others that Boaz and Naomi showed Ruth, that brought this non-Christian to become a Christian. To become a Christian because of the faith that she saw. And those two. Where you go, I will go. Where you live, I will live. Your people will be my people. Your God would be my God. Ruth said this to Naomi, and she said it with the kindness for others. This was her kindness for Naomi because Naomi has been through so much. She's telling Naomi, we are in this together. But then at the end of our story, Ruth believed in what she said. She believed in the goodness of God, that there is hope. Your God would be my God. There is hope when you are a Christian. Even if life is bitter, even if life is going well, our faith is what matters. Let me close with this for this morning. For that culture during the Bible days, when your husband passes away or dies, the husband's brother or the nearest relative would marry you. And we Hmong, we have this culture, and it's been done in the past. I don't know if we still do it here, but that's what Hmong people also do. To keep the land in the family, to keep the boy, especially for Hmong, to keep the son in the family. And that person, in that culture, they call it the family redeemer. Yeah, the redeemer. So in the story of Ruth, that redeemer for Ruth was Boaz. And Ruth fell to his feet and thanked him warmly. What have I done to deserve this kindness? She asked. I'm only a foreigner. And Boaz replied and said, yes, I know, but I have also heard of all the things you have done. What have Ruth done to deserve such kindness from her Redeemer? She was a foreigner. You and I, all of us, we have been redeemed. And our Redeemer lives. He lives in us. He lives through us. Jesus Christ is our Redeemer. What have you and I done to deserve such kindness? Nothing. Because it's God's grace for us. God's kindness for you and me. Go this week and firmly believe that God uses us to be a witness to others, kindness for others. Amen. Let's stand for prayer.